Jeremiah chapter 17 and verse 4. And thou, even thyself, shalt discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee, and I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in the land which thou knowest not, for ye have kindled a fire in mine anger, which shall burn forever. I want to give all praises and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, and peace and salutation to the brothers and sisters throughout the four corners of the earth that are, waiting on Yahweh Shai, and also especially to you sincere brothers that are, pushing this word, in sincerity and in truth. This is Hawayaahla, just kind of going into just a brief lesson. More than likely, Abba Rataza, I'll get a little bit more into it in regards to the lesson, just concerning, what it is to be an American. Okay, and this is just kind of going into an article that I read earlier today. This is concerning the whole protesting that's going on, that was really started with Colin Kaepernick. And really, to be honest, a lot of that is actually staged. I really believe that it's a staged protest that's going on to really kind of cause more, division amongst the people as we approach this election. And it would make sense that the NFL would allow, a lot of this to happen. They're not really finding guys heavily. Of course, guys is losing sponsorships, but you got certain men that are doing it, that are being told to do it, and then you have other men that are following suit, which was naturally going to happen. And that's what makes a lot of these movements appear natural, because what happens is you get sincere people that are caught up in that movement, not understanding that it's all set up. Just like, everything else that Jake is a part of, for the most part, there's always, some kind of influence with Esau's hands all over it. And that's the reason why it's getting such media coverage. Because anytime Esau is willing to publish something over and over again, put it on all his major networks, make it the topic of the discussion on your, pretty much your primetime news on places like CNN and your 2020s or whatever you have, or your ESPNs especially, then that it's really Esau that's actually stirring up the masses with these stories. But however, I'm just going to kind of go into what was said by this baseball player. His name is Adam Jones, and it says here, MLB short on anthem protest because it's a white man sport. So he's talking about the reason why the Major League Baseball is not having this protest, because there's not that many, I guess you could say, so-called black, which would be, the Southern Kingdom primarily, that he's referring to in the Major League Baseball. All right, so I'm going to just go ahead and play this video briefly, and we'll just kind of hear what he has to say.
Football, you can't kick them out. You need those players. In baseball, they don't need us. What do you mean by that?
Well, I think what I'm speaking of is the reality. You look around in baseball, and if you see what you see, and I don't know whose eyes, other people, what they see, but through my eyes, I see the majority of white players. And it's not a problem. It's not like I'm saying, oh, we need more black players, we need to do this and do that. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, he asked me a question and I answered it, simply as that. And with the backing of it, knowing that the numbers backed up my statement. And like I said, we play in such a numbers game, sabermetrics. Everything is always valued by numbers these days. So why, when I threw out a number, did I get backlash from it? I'm just speaking the truth. And I even educated myself. I had no idea that the number of Latins rose to 28%. I educated myself. I thought it was in the lower 20s. So all this can be is a conversation and education for everybody. So that's just what my stance was. And if people don't agree with it, you don't have to. But I think the support that I've received from my family, friends, and a lot of the older guys, the older generation of baseball players, has been great. And I'm happy with my decision to speak up on it.
Well, let's continue that conversation. What could happen behind the scenes or publicly if a black baseball player decided to sit or kneel during the anthem?
Well, I don't know if that's probably the stance in baseball, due to the fact that, literally we play every single day. In football, it's that once a week, that Sunday, it's so magnified. It's a completely different game. And like for me personally, I stand for the anthem for multiple reasons. I think I stated yesterday, my dad served 22 years, my brother served, I think, 12 years, and then he's still working with the Army out in LA. So my reasoning for standing for the national anthem is completely different than any other anybody else. But I also understand what Cap and all the other guys are doing, and they're talking about the social injustices. They're not talking about what we face as athletes. So, my reasonings are different, and I just want to just get my point across.
Okay, so you pretty much saw there. You had basically what he was talking about, and he supports it. And this is part of the confusion. You got, Jake that grows up being an American. Here he is. He's successful. He's had his father, his brother serve in the United States military. And then here it is. They so-called fight for the freedom of expression, as these people call it. But here it is, Colin Kaepernick and all these different Jakes are protesting or basically not submitting themselves to the United States flag, which is actually one of the things that you are conditioned to do from your youth up. That's the reason why they have the Pledge of Allegiance, because that's all goes back to brainwashing. That's a brainwashing technique. That's a way to put that American demon on people. That's the reason why you got Jakes that go and protest these type of things. But let July 4th roll around, they'll be the first one looking for the red, white, and blue. They'll be the first ones trying to go to the store and get them some different meats and throw a barbecue and go watch some fireworks. They're the most patriotic out of all pretty much so-called Americans, because they actually are willing to put themselves down to allow others to get more rights than they do. Okay? So, I mean, the Jake is really at a very low state, and they've taken on an identity that doesn't profit them. Okay, because what is known to be an American is soon going to be destroyed. It's going to be known as a wasted heritage. No one is going to be calling themselves an American in the kingdom. All right, but Jake is still, asleep right now, but some Jakes is waking up. Okay, now there was something that he actually said in the article, which is part of the reason why I'm doing this. Now, when you go on, it says, I'm going to read this part. This is right here. This is what Adam Jones is saying. He said he believes in what he believes in, Jones said of Kaepernick, according to USA Today Sports. And as a man of faith, as an American who has rights, who am I to say he's wrong? See, he identifies himself as an American. Words have power. If you say you are something or a part of something, that actually is something that puts a vibration on you. Kaepernick is not disrespecting the military. He's not disrespecting people who they're fighting. What he's doing is showing that he doesn't like the social injustice that the flag represents. Okay, because it's a bloody flag. All right, it's the bloodiest flag, all right, or ensign that has been basically shown, right, throughout the planet Earth. All right, this was the most wicked kingdom on the planet, that's ever existed. I mean, we're talking about millions of people are killed, through various means of weapons of destruction, man, by, primarily Babylon, all right? Now, if you go further on, get to the part of it, he's not receiving now, this is what he's talking about. There's actual, one of the Kaepernick's teammates actually was arrested, right, for beating up a couple of people, and it's not even being talked about. So he says there's somebody on the 49ers team that commits an act like that, accosts a 70-year-old man and his kid, and nobody's talking about it. And that's right, because see, these Edomites, man, they are all about blaming Jake, because what people have to understand is that they are the accusers of the brethren. That goes back to Satan. Okay, and they are the physical counterpart of Satan. So it doesn't matter what their people do. It doesn't matter the wickedness that they've done, as long as they can point to something so trivial as to whether or not a football player wants to put his hand over his heart and pledge allegiance to a flag, which that's all Masonic and built to put demons on people. So now that he's fighting against that, people are upset. All right, you even got this. I seen an article, is actually on a Daily Mail, where this so-called supermodel, all right, which she's not supermodel, Kate something, I forgot her name, but that's besides the point. She was talking about how Kaepernick is disrespectful, and how are these guys allowed to do this, and disrespecting America and why are you here? Just talking all kinds of mess. Because see, what Jake doesn't understand is that Esau wants you to take your beating with a smile. They don't want you to say that when you get hit that it hurts, because they don't look at you as a human being. They don't look at you as a person, as someone that actually has feelings. They don't really look at you as the chosen people of Yahweh B'Hashem Yahweh Shai. They don't look at you like that. All right, and really, the vast majority of our people prefer to be treated that way because they have Stockholm syndrome. As long as this devil can love them, they'll stick with whatever he dishes out. All right, so going further on, it says, Jones said, referring to Kaepernick's now former teammate Bruce Miller, but they talk about Kaepernick doing something that he believes in as his right as an American citizen. People need to talk more about that guy than Kaepernick. He's not receiving the ridicule and public torture that Kaepernick is facing. Is Kaepernick hurting me? No. Is he hurting random people out there? No. I support his decision. At the end of the day, if you don't respect his freedoms, then why the hell are we Americans? It's supposed to be the land of the free, right? Well, guess what? You're not Americans. And that's the whole thing. This whole system is set up on hypocrisy. It tells you about defending all these different freedoms and values that they never defend and uphold anyway. That's what people are going to realize when all hell breaks loose. When everything completely crumbles down in this society, all right, and they declare martial law and people are getting killed in massacres, rounded up to concentration camps, being beheaded, being tortured, their family, their wife and kids getting raped and all that stuff without nobody to deliver them. That's when they're going to realize that they were in nothing but a big lie. And see, what Jake is doing is that they're crying out, all right, the best way that they know how, because this is how it's supposed to be. It tells you in the scriptures, going back into Genesis, the 49th chapter, starting particularly with Judah, and of course it will lead to the rest of the tribes, is that who shall rouse them up. Okay, so now this is the time that's been happening, and Esau is actually playing upon that. The elites, they're setting up things, they're playing upon it. They got people that they've set up, groups that they set up. They got the media all involved, and they're actually just fueling their own destruction, because all this doing is just bringing more attention to Jake to separate more and more from this man. It's actually making some Jakes consider different things, and that's the reason why it's ripe out there, man. This is a plentiful harvest. Right now is a good time, for a mass of people, that are part of the elect to potentially be sealed during this time because of all the stuff that's going on. Now they're actually considering not wanting to be, at least in identifying with being an American. Now this is the time for them to get back their identity that was given back to their forefather Jacob. Okay, so I'm going to just go ahead and finish it off real quick. This is Genesis chapter 32 and verse 27. And he said unto him, what is thy name? And he said, Jacob. And he said, thy name shall be called no more Jacob, but Israel. For as a prince hast thou power with Yahweh and with men, and hast prevailed. All right, so the Israel is Yasharala, which means he is a prince of the power. And that's the real identity. Being an American has no power, man. And this is what the identity is going to be. This is actually the real deal of what we really are, man, as a people. We are the Israelites. So hopefully, this is edifying, and probably, Abarataza lead into, a little bit more, of probably a bigger lesson dealing with, the whole identity of being American. So again, I want to give all praises and glory to Yahweh, B'Hashem, Yahweh Shai, and peace and salutation to all the brothers and sisters throughout the four corners of the earth that are waiting on Yahweh, B'Hashem, Yahweh Shai, for deliverance, and Shalom.